Okay, welcome back. This is going to be a quick video to show you how to migrate to using SwiperJS, which really was the library that was underlying Ion slides. Ionic announced here in their beta release, here's the blog, but in it they announced that Ion slides component has been deprecated. And then if you go down a little bit lower, so if we jump over to the documentation, they talk about how it's been deprecated, but then they also come down to the bottom and they have a whole section on migrating to Vue. This is a very thorough set of documentation on how to do everything. All I'm providing here is just a very simple example with a video on how to kind of dynamically add slides and remove slides. I touch on a couple of the topics that are listed here, but clearly this goes into a lot more depth. So if you want to do some more advanced stuff, you can take a look at what they have here in the documentation. The other thing that's different is I'm using Vue just because I like it and it's faster. Let's hop to it. So I already have an Ionic project set up over here, and it has one path in it, which is slides, which is this empty page here. It does nothing at this point. I just have some placeholders here for the template, where everything's going to appear, and some components that I know I'm going to use. I like to put them in ahead of time to save you guys some time from watching me type all that stuff, because it's kind of a pain in the ass to have to type in every single component. So I put that in place there. But the first thing that we need to do, which is very similar to what they're saying over here, is to get started, we need to install Swiper. So let me create a terminal window here, new terminal, and we're just going to install Swiper. All right, so Swiper is now installed, and then let's get this thing running. Run npm run v. Sorry, that's not it. It's npm run dev. Okay, so let's go over to our page and see if we get something showing here. All right, so we have our basic placeholder here for our application, and then the next thing we want to do here, let's get this this terminal out of the way. I don't think I'm going to need it much anymore. So clearly, we want to start to show some stuff inside of here. Let's start by adding all the appropriate imports that we need. So we are going to just add them all underneath here. So we are adding the main swiper and swiper slide, and then we're adding a bunch of styles that we need here. So let's kind of go, what's the next step we want to do? The next step we want to do is, how we're going to manage our slides are, we're going to create a a Vue component constant. We hold slide data, and slide data is going to contain some slides, but this is going to be a ref, so we can get some dynamic stuff happening here. We'll set this to any since it's a type, since we're using TypeScript, and then we're going to just put an initial element in. We're going to give it an ID of 1, and what we're keeping track of here is a name, and we're going to give the name as initial slide. Okay, so we have our first slide in, and that's what's going to be. So let me I think I can take up a little bit more room here. So we have our initial slide, and we need to return this. So let's return, so slide data, because we need access to slide data in the template. And what we're going to do is just create a for loop, and we're going to wrap the for loop inside of a slide. And we're going to start with the template. And let's just go like this. And then inside my template, I'm going to do a v4. And then we're going to say for s in slide data. And then we need our key. And then we're going to set our key to s.id. Okay, what is this complaining about? S is defined but never used. All right, because S is defined but never used. So the main idea here is that we're going to put we are going to create a basic container similar to what they've done here. So we'll just copy this first part. We're going to place it inside of here, swiper and swiper slide, but we want our slide. So we're going to say slide name, and then our slide name is going to be from our data s.name. Oh, I'm mixing my programming languages up here. Sorry. There you go. So if we go back to our app, now the next thing I want to do is kind of create some, let's create some styles for this guy. I created a set of styles to help kind of lay out all of this. The other thing we want to do is the objective, what we want is we really want to use Ionic cards. So let's go like this, and let's, inside of my slide, I'm going to do an Ion card, and then we'll take this code, and inside of here, I'm going to say Ion card content. And then inside of Ion card content, we'll put our slide name. So that's how we're going to do this. We're going to save this, and Ion card content. That should be our slide. And so here we have our basic slide showing up. And I did the same. S name. Sorry. Like I said, I'm getting my languages mixed up. Let's put this right. And so we have our initial slide, and it's set up and it's styled properly because I had predefined some slides. And like I said, because it's dynamic, if we go down here and let's change this a bit, put this down here, and we say, just add another slide here, ID 2, initial slide. And so now we have our two slides. Why are my two slides not acting as slides? Let's see, I think I missed an import or something. Yeah, I didn't add the components, my bad. So we need to add the swiper and the swiper slide component. So swiper slide. Let's add them as imports. Swiper slide. Oh, sorry, they're already imported there. Why is that doing that? Let's refresh our page. Why are my slides not sliding properly? Actually, I did this backwards. The swiper is a top level container, and then inside of it, we want to loop around. So let's do it like this. So now that's kind of what we want. And then now now I can slide and see my two slides. So here's my slide 1, and there's slide 1 and slide 2. So we have our initial slides. Let me paste in some styles that I defined previously to kind of clean up this view. And so what I've done is I put something in to kind of get us a card height and to set swiper container height and everything. So hopefully everything will start to lay out a little bit better. Let me just make sure that I have my page, my template. Let's go and let's check my index. My index is set up there, so we're back to our slides view. Okay, so I have my initial slide. And you saw how when we can slide back and forth between them. But what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to dynamically add some slides. So to dynamically add some slides, we're going to have a button down here. When we click the button, it'll just, the idea is that after you click the button, we'll just push more data into slide data. Because slide data gets updated, it will force this code up here to run again, and then it will add an additional slide, all nice and neat and dynamically. So let's get that going. So let's add a button. We're going to add our button outside of all this. So we'll just do some code with a little bit of styling, and we need a function called add slide. So let's go down here to the bottom, and we're going to return add slide. And then let's create a function const add slide. And then what add slide is going to do, it's, as I said, we're going to push onto our slide data a new object with some kind of sample values for an ID and for the name. Okay, so now we have the function. Once again, let's wrap this so we can see kind of what's going on. And so we're doing some basic JavaScript here. We are going to add a slide here, and we're using an ID. We're going to do from date, time, and then we need to add a name. And the name, we're just going to make the name be straight up the new date. So let's just say new date. convert it all to a string, and that'll be the name. That's the new slide ID is the time, and then we did some destructuring, so we get all the values from the previous data, and we kind of push it to the new slide data. And that should be good to go. Now let's see if we can get our button to show up. So here's my add button slide. Let's try and add a slide. So there's my new slide. You can see the date's changing slightly. I'm adding new slides each time. And then we can confirm it because I can scroll back and see all my other slides. So I've been able to dynamically add slides here to my list of slides. So if you can dynamically add slides, the next thing you want to do is you want to actually be able to delete some slides. So let's go up to the bottom here. And what we're going to do inside of my card content, we're actually going to add a button to delete slides. And let's kind of make some changes here. So let's put a div. And then let's give it a little bit of space. We can say style. And then underneath here, and then inside of here, we'll create an Ion button. I don't understand, why is this not updating properly? Why do I have to keep refreshing this? Okay, so we have delete slide, and so right now it does nothing, but when I click delete slide, I want it to call a function to remove the slide. And the same way how we, let's go down to my data, the same way how we added a slide by adding additional data to my slide data, we basically remove the slide by filtering the list based on ID to remove the item that we want. So we need to add a new function called remove slide. So let's come up here and go here, and let's say click remove slide s.id. We'll use the ID of the slide that we want to remove. Let's kind of wrap this around and clean this up a bit, make it a little bit better visually. And then we need to add our function remove slide. So let's go down to the bottom here, and we have our add slide. Let's add remove slide, and let's go up here and add our function. So we're going to add our function remove slide here. And so in our function remove slide, let's kind of stretch this out so we can kind of see what's going on. In remove slide here, we're going to take in our slide ID, and then we're going to filter our slide data based on the ID and remove the value that we want. And so that should actually remove the slide for us. So let's go back up to our code. Here's our add slide function. Here's our remove slide function. It's in place. So let's add a couple of slides and then see if they remove effectively. So let's refresh our page. And let's add a slide. So there's a new slide. Let's add another slide. So now we have 3 slides. There's our third slide. Let's delete the second one. So that deletes it, and so it dropped us back to the first one. And then you can see there's this other slide, and I can delete this. And so now we're back to 0 slides, and I can actually even delete that one and then delete that one. So now we have no slides. I can add a new slide, add a new slide, add a new slide. So that's pretty awesome. So we basically showed how to add and delete slides. You can see dynamically how that worked. The last thing I want to kind of show is there might be some instances where you want to actually get the swiper instance, and what there is a function called swiper. There's an event called swiper, and that will give you an instance of the swiper object as soon as one's available. So we're going to say, we're going to create a new function to basically an event handler to, once swiper is initialized, we will take the instance and we'll save the instance locally so that we can work with it. We'll call the function swiper on instance. So we get the swiper on instance, and so we need to go down here to our project. Once again, we need to add that as a function that we're going to return, swiper on instance. And then up here, let's do a couple of things. First, let's add the ref that's going to hold it. So we're going to say const swiper ref equals ref any. Initially, we'll set it to null. And then what we're going to do is we'll have this on, this on swiper instance function, and we'll set our reference. So here's our function that to get an instance swiper object after it is, let's kind of take our comment and move it over here so it all fits, after it is initialized. So it gets passed in as the value, we log it out, and then we'll set our swiper ref to hold the instance that gets passed in. And what we can do is now, since we have the instance, let's go down here in our page and try to do something with it. let's see. I'm going to pass my swiper ref out. Swiper ref. And then what we'll do is we'll go down on the bottom here and see if we can, so we have our add slide, and then let's underneath this, let's try this. Padding left, we're going to put some padding on the top here too. And we're just going to say slide count. And we're going to select the slide count with a swiper ref dot, I think it's slides length. I think that will give me the number of slides. If this doesn't work, I'll just take a look in the documentation and we'll figure out what it is. Let's see. So it looks like something crashed. Let's do this. I think I might not have a swiper ref right at the beginning. So let's try that. Okay. So that's what it was. I didn't have a swiper ref at the beginning, and so it was crashing before. I don't know why it's not taking my padding. Oh, so that shouldn't be a comma. It should be that. And so let's see. All right, so now I have my slide count. Why does my length say 0? Let's see. If I add a slide. That's interesting. It deletes slide, delete slide, delete slide. It knows the count is 0, and as I add slides, it updates it. But the very first time, it has the length incorrectly, which doesn't make sense because I would think that as the ref changed. Now, let's do this. Let's try. Let's try going down here and add slide, new slide data. How do I? That'd have to be something I'm gonna have to add. I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research on to figure out how to get it to update it the very first time through. So I did some investigation after that issue that I have, and basically what I found out the problem was that because I was dynamically adding data with this add slide here, Swiper needs to know that there's been updates made to the DOM. And so the hack that I've used for now, and if someone finds a better solution, please let me know. What they do is they encourage you to call update when you make a change to the DOM directly. So what I do is all of this code at startup, I get the instance, slide data gets loaded, and since there's slide data, it is looping through and adding my slides. So what I do when the component is mounted, I use the set timeout, and then I call update on Swiper using the reference that I was passed, and that forces Swiper to get the information that it needs, and so everything syncs back up. Swiper now knows that there's slides that have been added, so my count is appropriate. So now you can see when I refresh the app and I start up, I'm getting the appropriate slide count. As I add slides, my slide count increases. As I delete slides, my slide count decreases. So that was the issue. And now we'll get back to our regularly scheduled programming. Going on there. Okay, so we basically just showed our example. Let's kind of refresh everything. It gives us the ability to create a number of slides initially. So we have our 2 slides initially. We have our 2 slides, so initial slide 1, initial slide 2. We can delete a slide, you can delete all the slides, you can add slides. We can still scroll through them all. And the important thing is that we get the Ionic look and feel that we wanted to in Ionic V6 with Vite, and everything looks good. Thanks again for coming by and watching the video. There's a blog post associated with this that will be in the link below. Please check that out for all the details. There's also a GitHub project, which the link will be below. If you have any more questions, any more comments, please let me know. And take care. Hope you enjoyed the video.